Oga, please, I beg you with everything holy, don't enter that car today. Chief Adebayo Olumide stopped dead in his tracks. He had just stepped into the marble hallway of his Banana Island mansion, one hand adjusting his gold Rolex, the other gripping his Mercedes car key. But now, standing before him and blocking his path, was Funmi, the quiet housemaid, kneeling on the cold tiles. If you are just tuning into this channel for the first time, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Also share with your friends and family. It means the world to us. Her eyes were swollen red. Her hands were pressed together in prayer position. Her whole body was shaking like a leaf in harmattan wind. "What is this madness?" Adebayo asked, his voice low and confused. Funmi looked up, her voice trembling like someone who had seen death itself. "Oga, please, something terrible will happen if you enter that car today. Blood will flow. Your name will be on every radio station. Please, sir, I'm begging you." Adebayo blinked twice, completely confused. "What nonsense are you talking about?" "I had a dream, sir, last night. Very clear, like I was watching Nollywood film. You wore this same agbada, entered your car, and—" Her voice broke. "You didn't come back home alive? There was accident, fire. People were crying your name on television." Adebayo stared at her. The air in the mansion suddenly felt different, thick, heavy, like something evil was pressing down on them. This wasn't ordinary dream talk that housemaids use to get attention. Funmi looked genuinely terrified, like someone who had witnessed her own father's burial. His phone buzzed in his agbada pocket. Kunle again, his business partner. He was already late for the investors' meeting. Everything was riding on this deal, billions of naira. "Get up," Adebayo said firmly. "This is not the time for village stories." "Please, sir," Funmi whispered, pressing her forehead to the floor. "I know I'm just a housemaid. I know my place, but I couldn't keep quiet. If I let you go and something happens, I will never forgive myself." Just then, high heels clicked on the marble staircase. "What exactly is happening here?" Madame Kemi descended slowly, her silk gown flowing behind her like water. Her face was already painted with expensive makeup, her gold jewelry catching the morning light. She paused when she saw Funmi on the floor. "She's saying I shouldn't leave the house," Adebayo replied, not taking his eyes off Funmi. Kemi stepped down and folded her arms. "Why?" Funmi didn't move. "Madam, I had a dream, a very clear one. If Oga leaves this house today, he won't come back breathing." Kemi laughed, a cold sound like breaking glass. "This is exactly why I told you we need to sack this girl. She has now turned herself to profit in our house." "Kemi," Adebayo started. "No, let me talk," she snapped. "You have the most important meeting of your life this morning. Contracts worth billions are waiting. Foreign investors flew in from Dubai just for you, and now a housemaid is stopping you with village dreams? You must be joking." Funmi bowed her head lower. "I'm sorry, madam, but I had to say it." "Get out of the way this instant," Kemi commanded. Adebayo raised his hand. "Wait." Kemi turned sharply. "Wait for what?" He was quiet. His eyes were still on Funmi. There was something about her voice, something honest and raw. She wasn't stuttering. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She looked like someone who had just seen her own nightmare come to life. Then it happened. That feeling, that quiet warning deep in his chest. No noise, no drama. Just a strong sense that if he stepped out today, he would regret it forever. Adebayo stepped back. He walked slowly to the center table, dropped his car key beside his phone, and turned away from the door. "I'm not going," Funmi gasped softly, still kneeling. Kemi's mouth fell open. "You're not what?" "I said I'm not going." "For God's sake, Adebayo." "I said I'm not going." His voice echoed through the mansion. Adebayo walked into the living room and sat down heavily. his hands folded in front of him, staring at the marble floor like it had answers. Kemi shook her head in disbelief. "You're letting this girl manipulate you because of one stupid dream." "She's not manipulating me," he said quietly. "Something just doesn't feel right." Kemi hissed like an angry snake, turned and marched back upstairs, grumbling curses under her breath. Funmi slowly stood up, wiped her face, and picked up the duster she had dropped earlier. Her hands were still shaking. Silence filled the house. He sat there wondering why his heart was beating like war drums, and why the fear in that girl's eyes felt more real than anything he had experienced in years. What he didn't know was that this was just the beginning. Chief Adebayo Olumide wasn't just rich, he was respected. He didn't chase Instagram fame or throw loud parties. No unnecessary noise, no wild interviews, no showing off. But in every real estate circle from Lagos to Abuja, his name carried serious weight. He co-owned one of the most powerful property companies in Nigeria, Golden Gate Properties, alongside his longtime best friend and business partner, Kunle Adeniyi. Together, they built the company from pure nothing. From the days of making cold calls with one laptop in a small Yaba office, to now signing billion-naira land deals in Victoria Island and Lekki. Adebayo was the brain, Kunle was the mouth. Adebayo was calm, calculating, a listener who could read people's hearts. Kunle was charming, aggressive, a smooth talker who could sell sand to desert people. People admired their friendship, the way they moved like blood brothers, finished each other's sentences, trusted each other with their lives. But only Adebayo knew that behind the laughter, behind the champagne glasses, behind every contract they signed, they were nothing alike. Still, the company was booming. Money was flowing like River Niger. Life was sweet. And then there was home. To the outside world, Adebayo had everything a man could want. A beautiful wife, Kemi, tall, elegant, always glowing like she bathed in honey. A modern mansion in Banana Island with a gym nobody used, imported flowers in every room, and enough designer bags to open a boutique. They were the perfect couple, always matching at weddings, always smiling in anniversary photos, always receiving compliments like, "God really blessed you two. You're made for each other." But behind closed doors, it was a different story. Adebayo had married Kemi out of love, real, deep love. He met her at a luxury furniture store in Victoria Island. She had come to buy curtains. He came for a new dining set. She asked him if gold matched cream colors, and he answered without thinking. She laughed like music. He asked for her number. The rest happened like a sweet dream. But love didn't stay. By their second year of marriage, it was clear that Kemi didn't care for companionship. She cared for comfort. She didn't cook. She didn't clean. She didn't want conversations. She wanted space, and she hated housemaids with passion. In less than 1 year, she had fired 8 different maids, all for small things. She opened the windows too wide. She breathed too loud while sweeping. She walks like a market woman. Each time Adebayo would return home to see a packed bag and a new face, he tried to complain. "I'm not running a training school," Kemi would snap. "This is my house. If I don't like someone, they leave." So Adebayo stopped arguing. He focused on work, on money, on peace. Then one Friday afternoon, the last maid left without notice. Adebayo returned home from work to meet his lunch stone cold and his clothes scattered everywhere. The living room was quiet. His wife was at the spa. Later that evening, Kemi announced, "I found a new one. She's coming tomorrow." And that was how Funmi entered their lives. Quiet, small, dark-skinned with kind eyes. Hair neatly braided, wearing a simple gown and flat slippers. No earrings, no makeup, no drama. She greeted everyone properly and went straight to work. Within hours, she had swept, mopped, washed the bathrooms, and organized the kitchen without being told. She didn't ask for anything. She didn't touch anything that wasn't hers. She moved like someone who didn't want to be noticed. But Adebayo noticed her. Not in a wrong way, but in a curious way. Because she was different. Most housemaids watched TV too much, gossiped, pretended to be busy. Funmi didn't. She woke up before sunrise. She ironed clothes like she was trained in a 5-star hotel. She cleaned windows without being asked. Even Kemi, who never praised anyone, admitted one night, "She's not as annoying as the others." That was the highest praise Adebayo had ever heard from his wife. Days passed, weeks passed. Adebayo would return from work to find the house sparkling, food hot, clothes folded, and peaceful silence resting across the living room. No shouting, no complaints, just calm. He looked at Funmi once and thought to himself, finally, someone who actually brings peace into this house. But what Adebayo didn't know was that peace was never the reason Funmi was sent into his life. Adebayo sat in the living room without moving. His phone was on the table, his car keys beside it. The house was quiet except for the soft hum of the air conditioner. He should have been at the office by now, shaking hands, signing contracts, smiling at photographers. Instead, he sat still, staring at nothing, feeling like he had just avoided something he couldn't explain. His chest felt heavy. The image of Funmi on her knees kept replaying in his head, shaking, begging, crying that if he stepped out that morning, he wouldn't come back alive. At first it sounded like madness, but now he couldn't shake the feeling that something had truly been waiting for him outside those gates. His phone lit up again. Kunle. Adebayo sighed and picked up. Guy. Kunle's voice was sharp with anger. What's happening? You didn't show up. The investors are furious. I had to cancel everything. I had to cancel, Adebayo said quietly. You had to cancel? Cancel what? Do you know what was on the table today? This deal, Adebayo, this deal was pure gold. I know, he replied, his voice flat. What's going on? Kunle asked again. Talk to me. Adebayo hesitated. He didn't know how to explain it. He didn't understand it himself. But before he could answer, another call came in. The screen flashed. Office Secretary, Funke. He clicked over. Hello? Sir? Her voice was shaking with panic. Segun, your driver. He's been in an accident. Adebayo sat up straight. What? Third Mainland Bridge. A trailer lost control and hit your car. The same Mercedes you always use. The car somersaulted completely. He's in the hospital, unconscious. We thought you were in the car. Adebayo slowly lowered the phone and stared at the floor. The exact car, the exact road, the exact time he was supposed to leave. He didn't move, didn't speak, just sat there replaying the image in his head. What if he hadn't listened? What if he had brushed it off? The silence in the house suddenly felt loud. Footsteps interrupted his thoughts. Kemi appeared from the hallway, her silk robe flowing, her phone in hand. So you're just sitting here all day? She asked. Adebayo didn't look at her. There was an accident. She raised an eyebrow. Okay. Segun took the car. A trailer hit him. The car is completely destroyed. Her hand froze mid-scroll on her phone. And you think that means what? I think if I had gone out, I might not be here. She laughed, but it sounded forced. So now you're turning this into some spiritual story. Accidents happen every day in Lagos. Adebayo looked at her. Really looked at her. Her face was calm, cold, no sign of worry, no trace of relief. It made something shift in his chest. I'm keeping her, he said. Kemi frowned. Keeping who? The maid. She needs to go. She saved my life. She caused unnecessary drama, Kemi snapped. She has no right telling you where to go or what to do. This is my house and I won't let... This is my house too. His voice was low but final. Kemi froze. The room went completely quiet. She blinked, then turned slowly and walked away, leaving behind the smell of expensive perfume and heavy tension. Adebayo sat back down, hands pressed together. He wasn't thinking about the maid. He was thinking about something deeper, something wrong. He didn't have proof yet, but he could feel it. Something in his life was not as it seemed. The tension in the house didn't go away. If anything, it grew thicker with every passing day. Adebayo stopped talking as much. He watched more than he spoke. Watched the way Kemi barely looked at him unless she was complaining. Watched how quickly she changed topics whenever the accident came up. Watched how she avoided walking past Funmi like guilt lived in her shadow. But he didn't say anything. Not yet. Instead, he started asking quiet questions. A few days after the accident, something happened. Adebayo was in the dining room reading through business reports on his tablet. Kemi had just stepped out to answer a phone call. Funmi came in to clear the plates. She didn't speak at first. Then, quietly, just above a whisper, she said, "Sir." Adebayo looked up. She bent slightly, pretending to pick up a dropped napkin. "Please don't sign any documents this week." He frowned. "Why?" Funmi's voice dropped even lower. "I had another dream. This one was clearer. I saw papers. You signed them. Not long after everything collapsed, you lost your company. Your bank accounts were frozen. There were policemen, sir. You were handcuffed." Adebayo's body went rigid. She added, "If you sign any document this week, you will not only lose your money, you may end up in prison for something you didn't even do." Before he could ask more questions, Kemi walked back in. Funmi picked up the tray and left quietly. But the words stayed. They didn't just stay. They sank deep. Adebayo didn't forget them. 2 days later, Kunle came by the house. He showed up in his usual loud fashion. Designer clothes, fresh cologne, big smile. "My guy," he shouted, pulling Adebayo in for a hug. "Thank God you didn't enter that car. That accident was brutal." Adebayo gave a small smile. "Let me guess," Kunle continued. "That maid is still around? The one who gave prophecy that morning?" Adebayo nodded. Kunle laughed. "Ah, Adebayo. When did you start listening to dreams?" "I don't ignore warnings anymore," Adebayo said calmly. Kunle raised an eyebrow but didn't push it. "Anyway, forget all that. The Dubai deal is still alive. We just need your signature." Adebayo nodded. "Send the documents." Kunle grinned. "That's what I like to hear." But that night, when the documents arrived and Adebayo opened the folder, his body tensed. Something wasn't right. The numbers looked different. The proposed land value was lower than what they originally discussed. The foreign bank account listed for payments. It wasn't one he recognized. Then he remembered, "Please don't sign any documents this week. You may end up in prison for something you didn't even do." Adebayo didn't sign it. He closed the file and locked it in his drawer. A quiet investigation followed. He contacted a friend in banking, and what they uncovered was worse than he expected. Kunle had been stealing company money for over 2 years, large sums hidden under fake project names, all carefully done, like someone who never planned to get caught. It wasn't just betrayal, it was criminal. And Adebayo wasn't just being betrayed in business. At home, things got worse. Kemi began trying everything to get Funmi out of the house. "She's too comfortable," she said one morning, slamming a kitchen drawer. "Too quiet. I don't trust her." Adebayo didn't look up from his newspaper. "She's efficient. She's disrespectful. She's disciplined." Kemi folded her arms. "She's going." Adebayo finally looked at her. "She's staying." Kemi's voice rose. "You're choosing a maid over me?" "I'm choosing my peace." That night, Kemi locked herself in the guest room. She paced, boiled with anger, then picked up her phone and called Kunle. he answered with a tired voice. What is it? I can't do this anymore, she said, her voice cracking. I'm suffocating. What happened now? He's still protecting that girl. He refused to sack her. She keeps interfering with everything. She's just a housemaid. No, she's not. She's a curse. That girl is watching us, Kunle. She's ruining our entire plan. Kunle was quiet. Kemi kept going. You told me to marry him. You said if I did, we'd find a way to take the company, access the funds. We've been planning this for how many years? We're still on track. We're not, she snapped. We've tried everything. You even sent those boys that evening to attack him on his way home from the office. Do you remember? I remember. They were armed, Kunle. They waited for hours. And what happened? He changed routes again, because of her. She called him, told him to take another route. It's like she always knows every trap we set. He walks around it. Kemi's voice dropped. I'm tired. I hate living here. I hate pretending to be a wife. I hate sharing a bed with a man I don't love. You love me, Kunle said quietly. Yes, she whispered. That's why I did all this. But it's dragging. It's falling apart. And if something doesn't happen soon, I'm walking away. Saturday evening came quiet and slow. Adebayo was on the balcony reading business reports when Kemi walked into the living room wearing a fitted travel dress. Her headscarf was tied loosely, her nails freshly painted. She stood near the staircase, casually checking her phone. I'll be traveling tomorrow morning, she said. Adebayo didn't look up. Where to? Ibadan. Daddy hasn't been feeling well. I need to check on him. He nodded slowly. All right. I should be back Monday. Okay. She waited for more questions, maybe a hug, a safe trip, anything. But Adebayo simply returned to his screen. Something about the silence made her nervous, but she smiled and walked away. Adebayo didn't move. He didn't show any emotion. But inside, he was already making a phone call. Follow her quietly. Don't lose sight. Don't interfere. Just send me updates. The next morning, she left the house at 7:15 a.m. Her handbag was designer. Her smile was soft. She kissed Adebayo lightly on the cheek and waved goodbye. By 9:03 a.m., the first update came in. She didn't go to Ibadan. She drove straight to Victoria Island, checked into a boutique hotel on Adetokunbo Ademola Street. Room 406. Name on the register, Mrs. Tolu Ogundipe. Adebayo read the message without flinching. By 9:47 a.m., the second update came. Kunle arrived. Cap pulled low, sunglasses, simple polo shirt. He didn't check in. He went straight upstairs. Same room. Adebayo stared at the photo, then sat back slowly. No shock. No panic. The truth had already been beating in his chest for weeks. This was only confirmation. They didn't come out all day. By 6:20 p.m., Adebayo arrived at the hotel in a dark SUV. He didn't tell his driver why. He didn't need to. He got out calmly, walked in. Room 406, he said to the receptionist. She hesitated. Are you... Adebayo brought out his wallet and dropped 2 crisp bundles of notes. I won't be long. She swallowed hard and handed him the spare key. He didn't rush. He didn't knock. He opened the door. And there they were. Kemi in a white bathrobe standing near the minibar, holding a glass of wine. Kunlo shirtless on the couch, scrolling through his phone. They both looked up at the same time. Everything froze. Kemi's glass slipped slightly in her hand. Kunle stood up too quickly. Adebayo didn't say a word. He stepped in, looked at both of them, one after the other, then gently closed the door behind him. Kemi opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Kunle tried to form a smile. Guy, Adebayo raised one hand. Don't. Kunle froze. Kemi's lips trembled. Adebayo, I can explain. Don't lie. Adebayo said quietly. Not here. She looked at him like a stranger. You followed me? I stopped trusting you 2 months ago, he said, his voice low and clear. Now I know why. Kunle stepped forward. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think, Adebayo said. And worse. There was a long silence. Adebayo turned to Kemi. You married me for this? Her eyes burned. You never saw me. You were always married to your company. And you were always married to my bank account, he said. You and my business partner. Kemi flinched. Adebayo took one final look at both of them. I hope it was worth it. Then he turned, opened the door, and left. No noise, no drama. Just the silence of a man who had finally seen everything he needed to see. That night, Adebayo returned home and sat in his study alone. He didn't cry. He didn't break. He made 2 phone calls, one to his lawyer. Prepare divorce papers. The other to his accountant. Begin the process to buy out Kunle's shares immediately. Adebayo didn't eat for 2 days. The mansion was full of expensive furniture but empty of peace. Every polished surface felt like it was mocking him. Every photo on the wall reminded him of how foolish love could be when given to liars. He didn't cry. He couldn't. The pain didn't come with tears. It came with silence. The kind that wrapped itself around his chest and refused to let go. The woman he called wife, gone. The friend he would have died for, dead to him. And the maid still there, sweeping corners, folding bed sheets, serving him food he barely touched. The day the divorce papers came back signed, he didn't flinch. Kemi didn't even bother showing up. She sent her lawyer with a message. Tell him I agree to everything. Just give me my peace. Her peace. After trying to kill him. After planning with a man she slept with behind his back. After lying beside him every night while plotting his destruction. She wanted peace. Adebayo signed the papers with steady hands. But the fire in his chest was another story. He went back to the house that night and sat alone in the dark. The chandelier was on. The curtains were open. But the house felt like a grave. He had everything, but nothing. And that was when she walked in. Funmi. She didn't knock. She didn't tiptoe. She walked into the living room the way light walks into darkness, quietly but impossible to ignore. I'm leaving tomorrow, she said, her voice soft but firm. Adebayo looked up from the couch. His throat tightened. Why? She didn't blink. My assignment here is over. Of all the people in his life, this was the one who didn't lie, the one who saw the traps and didn't keep quiet, the one who risked her job, her comfort, even her life for him. You don't have to go, he said, and this time his voice cracked a little. You're the only person who hasn't hurt me. I know, she said gently, but I wasn't sent to stay. I was sent to save. Adebayo stood up slowly, walked over to her. His heart was heavy. He opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came. So she spoke again. If you had signed that document, she said quietly, you would have lost your company, your name, your freedom. You would have gone to jail while the people who planned your death walked free and kissed each other over breakfast. His jaw clenched. She took a deep breath. But you didn't sign. You stayed. You listened. That means you're ready. Ready for what? To start again, she said, this time with your eyes open. They stared at each other. Then Funmi did something strange. She smiled. Not the kind of smile that says goodbye, but the kind that says you'll be fine. Live right, she said, backing toward the door. Trust slowly, love carefully, watch everyone. She turned, opened the door, and just like that, she was gone. Adebayo stood in that doorway for a long time, the night breeze brushing past him like a whisper. He didn't chase her. He didn't cry. But deep inside, something was breaking and healing at the same time. He walked back into the living room, picked up the wedding photo of him and Kemi, stared at it for 5 seconds, then smashed it against the marble floor. The glass shattered, just like the lie. He bent down, picked up a shard, and looked at his own reflection in it. Cut, bruised, awake. And for the first time in a long time, he smiled. Not because everything was fine, but because the storm was finally over, and he had survived it. It took a year, a full year of silence, of starting over, of rebuilding a life that had been designed around betrayal. Adebayo poured himself into Golden Gate Properties. He restructured the company from top to bottom, cleaned out the rot, replaced every person who had once bowed to Kunle. He opened a new branch in Abuja, hired young, hungry minds, refused bribes, walked away from shady deals, became the kind of man he wished he had been earlier. And with time, the scars began to fade. He started going on evening walks again. He started eating with joy. He even started smiling without forcing it. And when love came knocking again, it didn't come loud. It came gently, through a woman he met at a charity event who didn't care about his last name or his bank balance. She cared about books, children, music, the quiet things. He didn't rush it. He didn't announce it. But when he held her hand one evening under the stars, he knew this time it was real. Meanwhile, somewhere across Lagos, a small black car pulled up in front of a modest duplex with faded paint and tension hanging in the air. Funmi stepped out wearing a simple gown and flat shoes. Her hair was neatly braided, her face calm. She rang the bell. A tired-looking woman opened the door, eyes swollen from days of crying. The woman looked confused. "Are you the lawyer?" "No," Funmi said quietly. "I'm the housemaid." Inside that home, a husband was on the verge of throwing away his marriage because of a secretary who had wrapped herself around his world. The wife knew. The man denied it. The marriage was dying. But Funmi had arrived. And wherever she entered, lies lost their power, and truth rose to the surface. 6 months later, Kemi sat on a plastic chair in a small room in Mushin, staring at a cracked mirror. Her designer clothes were gone. Her jewelry had been sold. Her pride had been buried under the weight of her own choices. She had left Kunle after he gambled away their stolen money. She had tried to find work, but her soft hands and entitled attitude made her unemployable. She was now living off the kindness of a distant cousin who reminded her daily that pride goes before a fall. In the mirror, she saw not the queen she once was, but the broken woman she had become. And late at night, when the generator went off and darkness filled the room, she would whisper Adebayo's name and cry for the love she had thrown away. Across town, Kunle was drinking himself to death in a one-room apartment, haunted by the empire he had destroyed with his own greed. But in Banana Island, in a mansion filled with genuine laughter, Adebayo was building something new, something real, something that couldn't be bought or betrayed. And somewhere in Lagos, a black car was pulling up to another gate, another assignment, another life to save. Because Funmi's work was never done. The protector, the warning voice, the angel in housemaid clothes, always watching, always knowing, always arriving just in time. Thank you for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, share with your friends and family until I bring another touching story your way. Bye for now.